Hello everybody, this is English for you. If you'd like to improve your English, if you'd like to hone your listening skill and sharpen your speaking skill, stay tuned. Ah, what a nice beginning, isn't it? So, welcome to the studio. Kotta, how are you doing?
Fine, thank you.
Good. Peter?
Hello.
How's everything?
Well, let's say fine.
It's fine, it's fine. Typical, we're going to talk about it. Mati, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you.
Good. You're smiling. Excellent. Victoria, what's up?
What could be, everything's fine, of course.
Good. Okay. Bence, how are you?
Yes, I'm a little bit tired, but it doesn't matter.
Again, we're going to come back to this point. Excellent. Thank you very much for this. Today's special guest is Mr. Todd Williams, not the first time here. Thank you for coming again.
You're welcome.
For joining us.
Thanks for having me.
And he is from California.
Yeah.
And Todd left the sandy beaches of California, the palm trees, the sunshine, happy and relaxed people. And he left for the Eastern Bloc. The Eastern Bloc. What is this, Kotta?
The eastern part of Europe.
Yes.
We.
Yeah.
We are the Eastern Bloc.
And we used to be, or still we are, we wouldn't call it the Eastern Bloc now.
It's a political term, isn't it?
Okay, so what do you think it is?
My God, it's from after the World War. There were blocks like this, so people couldn't really go through them. It was not
Yeah, I think it was the,
possible.
it refers to the former Soviet Union and the satellite countries like, unfortunately, the Czech Republic, Hungary, Slovakia. That was the Eastern Bloc. Now, when you first came here, Todd, what did you expect to find here? Technology, clothes, people? What did you have in mind?
I actually expected to see, and I'm embarrassed a little bit, but I expected to see, horses somewhere. I just, and sort of, I thought not everywhere, but, a few on the streets, and I didn't expect to see so many cars and sort of gray buildings and gray people and blonde. I expected everybody to be blonde, and I was very surprised because they weren't.
Yeah, and what about the clothes?
Yeah, it's sort of, I have to admit that I sort of expected something that looked a little bit more, like sort of peasant-y, sort of this kind of just simple gray, dark, but also, and it was not like that at all, actually. It was
So you were surprised, right?
Very surprised.
Good. Okay, I've got this fantastic book. It's a joke book. And I've chosen a couple of jokes for today. And this joke gives a stereotypical picture of the Eastern Bloc. Now, this book was published back in 1992, okay? And it's very, very important. Here we have this joke. Would you try and read it out, please?
What's 1,000 meters long and eats vegetables?
Right. And I would like you to try and come up with the punchline. The last few words that make a story or a joke funny. The punchline. Can you come up with a good Hungarian word for punchline? Csattanó, poén. Okay, so the punchline. The Eastern Bloc. Got any idea? Nothing?
Anybody?
Nobody?
Is it a line? Some
Yes.
kind of, it's a food line or something.
Excellent. So could we have the punchline, please?
Moscow meat.
Oh my God.
Okay, so Todd, would you read out the punchline, please?
A Moscow meat cube.
Yes. So this. I think it's a
And
really.
eats vegetables, right. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I get it now.
So you put two and two together, right? And it's a nasty one, right?
Yeah.
It's a nasty one. And there's a word here, Q.
Yeah.
Would you say it in American English, Q?
I would say cube. No, probably we'd say line. We would say line.
Line. So
Yeah.
in American English, this is line, and in British English, this is Q. And in Great Britain, you jump the Q, and in America, you skip the line.
That's right. That's correct. Yeah.
When people line up or queue, it's very, very impolite to jump the queue in British English or to skip the line. You're going to be executed in America for this. I mean, straight execution, no trial.
Yeah.
Right? For example, in Magic Mountain,
Yeah.
everywhere there's a piece of writing, don't skip the line.
And they get you out of the line as well
Yeah.
if they see that you got into the line. It's a
Right.
little different here, though, I think, no?
Right. So
Yeah.
when people travel abroad, they realize that other nations have different cultures, traditions, and different behavior. And a couple of months ago, I had Mr. Mark Andrews from England as a guest, and I asked him this question. Mark, have you found anything surprising here in Hungary? And this is his answer, and your question is, what did Mark find surprising? So would you roll the tape, please?
I guess it's a bit frustrating on zebra crossings because in Britain, usually when you wait at a zebra crossing, a car will stop. And I've had many experiences where I'm halfway across a zebra crossing and the cars don't stop. And it's been a bit frustrating. At times, I've even banged the car because I've been annoyed. I've had people shouting at me, you know, and it's been a bit difficult. But that's one thing that I must admit, found a little frustrating.
Right. What kind of a feeling it is to see yourself?
Awful, but I still find it very funny.
So what did you
Was
find? What
great.
did you find surprising?
Is, in Britain, if you want to cross a zebra crossing, cars usually stop if you're halfway across. But in Hungary, they don't. And he found this very frustrating, and he even banged the cars.
Right. Todd, is that true?
That's totally true, actually.
Happened to you?
Yeah, I once walked and I decided there was another bus coming, so I decided to turn around. And when I stopped and turned around, the car was right there. I was like, whoa, you know, so it's not just necessarily safe just because you're in the zebra.
Any other sort of culture shock you come across? So this was one, the zebra crossing. Anything else?
You made me think of one about the
Yeah.
standing in line. That's why I said that, because people here in Hungary stand way too close to you. So when you're standing in the post office or somewhere, then they are right behind you. It's like, get back a little, please. You know, it's just like, you can feel people breathing on you. It's a little close, you know.
And what about the metro on the transport system?
Oh, you know, and on the metro, there's people stare, actually, here. That's a great thing. And if someone stares at you, like in the States, that other people look away. But here, you stare at somebody, they stare back. And you continuously, and it's like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm the one that stared. So it's funny, yeah. That's
Right. And what about the disciplining in the metro? It's another thing you mentioned a couple of days ago. So what is it that surprised you, really?
If you're standing at a zebra, this is funny that Mark said that. If you're standing at a zebra and you go when it's red, somebody in the crowd will say, Piros, a lampa, you know, and you can see people who will actually tell other people's kids not to do stuff. So you can actually, people can actually.
And it's unheard of. It's unheard of.
You
the
would
States.
never tell somebody.
But why? It also means that people care for each other.
And maybe it's just different though, and it's hard to get used to. Actually,
Right.
it's very different for me, you know.
Okay, let me turn to my Faseka students. You've been abroad. You've traveled abroad a couple of times. Have you ever found something interesting, different behavior, something that frustrated you or just shocked you, surprised you? Vicky?
It's also in connection with queues. I found it very, very strange and was very surprised to find that when we went to school in England for a short time and we were late all the time, so we rushed for the bus stop and we had the timetable, of course, so we knew when to wait the bus. And we went there and just tried to get the closest to the door. And people told us, hey, there's a queue here, just stand at the back. And we thought, that's just very reasonable and sensible, but we never do that in Hungary. We try to get the closest to the doors, and
You
it's a
dash for the
crowd.
bus, right?
Yeah.
You dash
Sure.
for the bus. Bente, you spent
I
some
spent
months
a year in Germany in a boarding school, and I joined a folk dance group, and we had a performance in a so-called Folksfest, and after this performance we got a ticket with which we could buy sausages and beer. And
How old were you then?
I was 17,
17.
I guess. And the 12-year-old guys were drinking the beer much faster than I, and it was just amazing. And
And they were allowed to drink beer?
Yes,
alcoholic?
sure.
It's interesting.
But allowed to go into a bar. Here you can go to a bar when you're 17. You see people, you know, drinking, big kids drinking beers.
It would be impossible in the States, right?
You have to show your ID card at the door.
Thank you, Bente. Thank you very much. It was a nice story. 12-year-old kids drinking beer. All right.
Nice story.
We tend to form general pictures, general images of other nations. And we think that this picture is true in all cases. And I would say that that is called stereotype.
Yeah, definitely.
Right.
Definitely.
And I've got another joke for you from the same book. And I would like to have the first line here. Todd, would you read it out, please?
Yeah. How many Italians does it take to screw in a light bulb?
To screw in a light bulb. How many Italians does it take?
I have a guess.
Okay, go.
I think
Shoot.
2.
Why?
One who holds the bulb and one who turns the people.
Turns the lever
person,
and
yes.
okay, that's a nice idea, but the punchline here is a little bit different.
Oh, 2. One to screw it in and one to shoot the witnesses.
And it's awful because all the Italians are identified with mafiosos, right? which is very, very nasty, I
Yeah.
would say. Okay, now
Yeah, that's true, actually.
I think you're going to find a word card in your desk and a couple of adjectives. Cotta, you have the Italians, Peter, the British,
The Russians.
the Russians, the French,
The
and
Germans.
Bente, the Germans. And we're going to have a couple of adjectives here.
Oh.
And I would like you to try and find one adjective that you think could match somehow your word card. Obviously, it's going to be a sort of stereotype. Reserved, it means that you don't want to show your feelings. You don't want to talk about yourself. You keep your feelings for yourself. The others are okay, maybe hospitable, when you are very kind to visitors, to guests, when you welcome visitors. Okay, Cotta, could you try and find one adjective that you think might match your word? Would you hold up your word card? The Italians?
I think talkative.
Yes, that's what I've heard. Peter,
The British, I think they are reserved and also proud.
proud and reserved. Maybe, I don't know much. You've got the Russians. What
The
do you think?
Russians. I think they are emotional.
Emotional.
Interesting.
Excellent. Vicky.
I
The Fren-
feel the French were emotional too. They could be. And they could be proud.
Proud. Yes, that's what everybody says, that they are very proud, chauvinist. The word chauvinist is French. And,
Germans are basically hardworking and punctual.
okay, so this is the typical, stereotypical picture of these nations. And we're going to have another joke here. And I'm turning to you, Todd, again. And it's going to be about the different nationalities doing things in heaven and in hell. First, let's see heaven, our perfect world. Okay, so who's doing what in the perfect world?
Okay, in heaven, the French are the cooks, the Germans are the mechanics, the British are the police, the Italians are the lovers, and the Swiss are the bankers.
Good.
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Stereotypical.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to have the hell here, but without the nations. How would you jumble up the same thing to create hell? And Cotta, would you the same nations? What would you
Oh
say?
my. Maybe in hell the Germans are the cooks.
The Germans are the cooks? No, I don't know.
British.
The British? Okay, so we have another guess. It's either the Germans or the British.
Okay.
Go on.
The Italians are the mechanics.
The Italians are the mechanics. Everybody agrees. Everybody's busy nodding in the studio. Go on.
Maybe the French. I don't
French
know.
are the police. What do you think about this?
I would definitely say the Germans.
The
The
Germans?
yeah,
And-
because Germans, that's police.
But
just how
then
really-
what about the lovers?
Lovers. Police lovers.
Okay, let's go.
Good
let's,
point. Good point.
What about the lovers?
The
Could be
Germans.
the Germans or the
Swiss.
the Swiss could be maybe. And what about the bankers?
That's
Say it again. Vicky.
Italians.
Okay,
That
so
would
let
be
me let me read out the British version, because this is a British book. It was published in Great Britain, and it goes like this. According to this, in hell, the French are the mechanics, the Germans are the cooks, the Germans are the police, the British are the cooks, the Italians are the bankers, and the Swiss are the lovers, according to this book, okay? Where would you put, what do you think Hungarians would do in hell and in heaven?
In hell, ride a horse.
I think
In heaven.
in heaven maybe horse riders or
Yeah.
teachers. Come on.
Definitely.
And in hell,
Lawyers.
lawyers. I think of shops. How about cashiers at supermarkets? Am I right?
Assistants, yeah, definitely.
Why, Todd? Why?
Because when you go to a shop here, people, and this is also very different than I did not expect, that people will show their emotions and their moods here. So if they're in a bad mood, then you know right away. You go into the store and it's like, I don't want to work today. What? You know. It's
Yeah, but
funny.
I think it's going to change. Slowly it's going to change. Right. California is a multinational state. Lots of different ethnicities,
Ethnicities, yeah.
nations living together. Could you come up a couple of nice stereotypes concerning these nations? So, for example, what about the Orientals?
Okay, so it's pretty well known as a stereotype that Chinese people are bad drivers. This is just a standard feeling that that's true. It's also a pretty standard stereotype that Mexicans are definitely lazy. This is and you know these are definitely some stereotypes that black people are seen to be dancers, you know, singers, basketball players, you know this. So.
Right. Okay, now, Todd was on 2 shows in the Hungarian television, right?
Yeah.
In the building, on Hungarian television. And this is going to be one. And I would like one of you to try and describe Todd's clothes. And also, what do you think the director of the show wanted to make Todd look like? Kata.
Well, he's wearing very colorful clothes, and the colors are light, and I think the director wanted him to look like a very happy person who has no problems and anything.
Carefree.
Like a Bahama man.
Say it again, Maki.
Like a Bahama man.
Okay, so what's the story, Todd?
That's exactly what they wanted. Because I'm singing a song called Coco Jumbo. Do you know that song?
Yeah.
Yeah, and so the whole idea was to make me look like Bahamas or Jamaica or something. Although I have the hair, but you know, it's sort of. And so the shirt definitely is the sort of, and the light colors, because the trousers are like this.
Huh.
Okay, no, but that doesn't mean anything.
Good. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sorry.
After the show, we're going to talk about it.
Right.
Okay. Could we have the next picture, please? And I think, Peter, would you like to talk about it? Again, the same question. Todd, on a show on Hungarian television, what did the director wanted to make him look like?
It's very different, but I think it looks like if there were night and it's mysterious and like a mafioso, like the Italians
Interesting.
we talked about.
Oof.
I don't know, not that happy Jamaican singer that was
Right?
before.
Can you add anything to it? What is the
Unidentified
image?
flying object, I think.
A UFO?
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the story, Todd?
So it's interesting what Peter said, because he said not that happy guy. What they wanted that's very important. There's a hood on the jacket. They wanted me to look like a real hardcore rapper. But they thought that, you know, the silver suit would be, you know, sort of modern. So the important thing was the hood. And to be hard, which is, you know.
Right. Thank you very much. I think you've been living in Hungary for years now.
I have, yeah.
And you have a general picture of Hungarians. And that's what we're going to put to a test. Vicky, you're going to find a small piece of paper. And let's...
Yes.
the situation is this. Todd, you are not American, you are Hungarian. You are
Okay.
you're Hungarian to the core.
You are very
Okay.
Hungarian.
And
Okay.
Vicky, you know Todd, and you're going to ask a couple of questions. You just meet, okay? Go.
Okay. Hi there, how are you?
Well, you could say I'm okay, but really, I'm not, actually. You know, my back hurts and I have to go to the hospital next week and stuff, you know.
What a pity. Do you like this weather?
This weather, you know, it's too hot. Yesterday, 2 days ago, it was really, really hot, but now it's cold again. And, you know, and I just think it's going to be winter until the end of March, maybe April. I don't know, you know, but
Well then, how is your job? It must be better then.
my job, you know that I work with Chaba, and Chaba always hassles me, always. So Chaba never does what he's supposed to do.
And how about your kids?
My kids, my kids, you know, I have a kid named Leo, and now he's thinking about that he doesn't want to be called Leo. He doesn't like that name Leo, you know, so he wants to change his name. You know, I don't know what these kids of today do. I don't know what they're all
Excellent,
about.
thank you very much. So what does that mean? What is the basic stereotypical image of Hungarian, of your image about Hungarians? What is it?
You know, that complaining, sort of a kind of a negative, you know, complaining sort of people.
Right, we're going to have 3 words here, and one is the greatest complainers on earth. That's what you told me.
Yeah,
They always whine. And what is the second one?
underconfident. Yes, that is definitely.
So what does
true.
that mean?
It means that if there's a situation and somebody says, can we do it, the first thing this is a stereotype, keep in mind, the first thing Hungarian will say, can't do it, can't be done, you know, no way, no way.
All right, and the spiteful.
He can't be better than me somehow. I don't want him to rise up. I want to do something to keep that person from doing
Sort of
that.
jealousy?
You could say that, I think.
Right. You've been very nasty.
Yes.
So we're going to have our revenge.
No, no.
So we're going to have a little bit of a clip. And again, it's a typical, stereotypical picture of Americans. So could we have the clip, please? And what's this man like?
Ben, good to see you.
Never mind that. What the hell are you boys playing at? No, I don't want any of these stupid little things. Go away.
Right, so what kind of a person is he?
Fat.
Fat?
Oh, man.
Again, a nice stereotypical picture of Americans. What is the
Very
other thing?
rude.
Yeah.
Very rude. And we've got a fantastic word, obnoxious. When you are very rude, very aggressive, and sort of offensive,
Yes.
then you are obnoxious, okay? So this is one thing. We're going to have another 3 words here. So one is obnoxious. The other one is conceited. What do you think it might mean, conceited? No help?
Self-possessed.
Self-possessed. Over to you, Todd. What does
We're-
that mean, conceited?
We are the best. Americans are the best people on the planet, that's for sure. That's
Right.
what
That's what it means.
That's what conceited means when we say that, you know, we are the best, you know. We think everything we do is great and everything.
A high opinion of
Of
oneself,
himself,
a very
yes.
high opinion. The most beautiful, the best at everything. And ignorant. That's the third thing. Ignorant, not knowing things, information that you should know. Have you ever met these accusations?
All the time, all the time. People ask me, you know, do you know the difference between Bucharest and Budapest? You know, I'm not here, but I meet Hungarians somewhere else. Or they ask me, do I know where certain countries are? You know, it happens a lot. People, you know, what school did I go to? Did I really go to a school because I heard in America that schools are bad? You know, all this stuff.
And do you think that Americans in general are conceited?
I would say positive. But I can see how it might be seen as conceited. I can definitely see that for sure.
Right.
The others I can also fit people into as well. So,
Right.
You need self-ironics,
yeah,
like us.
like the Hungarians,
Yeah.
right?
Why do you think, and this is going to be the last question, and I want everybody to join in a little, why do you think that we need those stereotypes? Are there any positive and negative things concerning stereotypes? So what is the positive thing about it? Todd?
I would say that it helps us to understand how to deal with a new situation, so that if you have ideas about somebody, maybe you'll know that this person, if you think it's an Italian, maybe you can be more open and talkative.
Right.
You know?
Thank you very much. And the negative thing is that we shouldn't generalize. It's always very, very bad. Thank you for coming, Todd. Thank you very much.
Thank you for
Next
having
week
me.
it's going to be again English for you. Bye-bye.